Welcome to Glazed Over, a podcast for Contemporary Ceramic Studios. We're your host, Jessica Cowan.
And Amy Williams. You're invited to join us in creative conversation about life in the arts as entertainment space.
Hey, Jess.
Hi, Amy. Happy day after Easter.
Thank you, and happy almost birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it is almost my birthday. How was your Easter? What'd you do?
Oh, I spent time with my girlfriend's family. They really like each other. And, my family does too, but we also have, we like to, it's not as, it's not as often that we see each other is what I'll say. So we had some time together, and then I worked. Bummer. Yeah, what did you do?
Relatable. Also worked, we did renovations in the studio. We closed for the day for Easter, and I said we're going to paint this wall and also the bathroom and install these shelves and a candle bar and all of this stuff. So it's been a good time.
What's funny is that, we're obviously time traveling a bit. We're recording this in April, and this episode comes out in July. It's almost your birthday right now, but when this episode comes out, my birthday will be tomorrow. So
happy almost birthday, Amy.
It's kind of
Amy.
like destiny, don't you think?
Like a double birthday party, actually.
Yeah, something.
So,
yeah. And I always want to spend my birthdays with Gail and Jackie. So I think, pretty good birthday party, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a good time. I love having lots of people at my birthday parties. So being able to talk to Gail and Jackie about how to have large group events that's the way to kick it off this morning, right?
Yeah. I mean, they have been doing this for so long. They've been in business for, I think they said 27 years, and they've been doing large scale events for the past 15. They mentioned that they've been ramping
in Vegas.
It up. Yeah, in Vegas. They've been ramping it up for the past decade or so. And there's just like, they know so much, and we could have talked legitimately for probably 2 more hours and still not scratched really the surface of large scale events. But I think they did a really good job of kind of setting us up for how to start doing this in our own business.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely a good quick rundown. I think they're going to go more deeply into the logistics of all of it during their pre-con class at convention this year. So sign up for that if you haven't done it yet. And with that, I feel like we can just get into it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're like, oh, I already do large scale events, there's nothing I can learn here. You're wrong. And I think if you're like, I'm too scared to do large scale events, I could never do the business that they do, I also think you're wrong. So not to start you off with attitude for the episode, but just,
prove Amy wrong by listening to the episode.
There you go. All right. Well, y'all enjoy. We'll see you in the next one.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Hey everyone, Des Toll here from Bisque Imports. You know how much we love our customers, and supporting the CCSA podcast is just one more way we can show up for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. We're glad you're here.
Are you ready to stay ahead of the curve in the fine arts industry? Look no further than CCSA Today, our quarterly magazine packed with business insights, industry trends, and operational tips tailored specifically for fine arts studio owners like you. Whether you prefer the printed or digital version, each issue of CCSA Today is full of valuable content to help you run a more efficient, profitable, and creative studio. You'll find everything from the latest business strategies to inspiring seasonal designs that keep your customers coming back for more. Don't miss out on this must-have resource. Become a member of the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association and get CCSA Today delivered right to your mailbox or inbox. Learn more at ccsaonline.com.
What'd y'all do this morning?
Tried to get the dogs to a point where they wouldn't interrupt the podcast.
And how do you do that? What does that entail?
Yeah, you first of all, they both have bad allergies, so we gave them allergy medication, which will help them sleep. And then Gail took them for a walk, and then we extremely overfed them, so they'll be
that's so
fat and happy. They are in bed sleeping right now.
That sounds amazing! Wow.
And we covered up our Ring doorbell so that it doesn't get triggered, because that sets them free, man.
Yeah, I bet. That's
like
really
a checklist. Yeah.
And it's what, 11? What time is it there?
10.
Okay, I can never get the time change right. Yeah, I'm so jealous of people in a different time zone than me. You have so much more of the day left than I do. I think that's toxic behavior, but it's true.
We're just thankful that you did it on our time instead of Eastern time.
Oh, I know.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd want to be joining me at what, 6 a.m. to talk about
Yeah, that's
large scale
probably not.
events.
that's why we
Yeah.
opened a studio so we could like open at 11 or noon, right?
Uh-huh.
We like that.
Exactly.
Same.
Exactly. How is the studio going?
April is super busy for us. It's like almost like the holidays, but there's a
Really?
reason for that. Our schools end in May in Vegas super early. So everything is crushed right into that kind of got to work around spring break, and then people are getting ready for Mother's Day. But our schools are out like by May 15th.
So when is spring break for y'all if you're
Wow.
out that early?
Oh, it was in March.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was really weird this year. Easter's in a weird time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 420. How did you guys celebrate?
Do you know what I did? I actually worked all day yesterday because staff wanted off this weekend to go protest down in at our courthouse.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
So
And
they
what are
need
they
signs.
protesting? There's so
They're
many things.
protesting all the Democrats in the world.
Oh,
Oh,
Lord.
No, not really.
that's a lot.
We're about to have to end the call. No, just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh. Edit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. And it's cool that you let them do that and take the
Yeah.
weekend off.
It's important.
We
Yeah.
support social justice.
It is.
Yeah, we were kind of enchanted they wanted to do it. And some of it was they went with their kids. So we're like, okay, we can't say no. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
yeah.
How many do y'all have on staff right now?
Well,
Probably,
about 6 right now.
yeah, probably about 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're up to 20 during the holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear
It's-
about that.
It's seasonal part-time kind of stuff, so it ebbs and flows, but summer camp season we'll keep staffing up a little bit more too, but when it gets super quiet and event work isn't booked so much like August and September, then it kind of shrinks back down to 4 or 6.
Yeah, our event work right now is maybe 2, maybe 3 events a day versus the holidays where you can have 4, 5, or 6 events a day
Yeah.
all
Well,
day long.
yeah, that's crazy. So are they primarily doing the events for you, or are y'all still stepping in and leading these events?
We do the big ones. We lead the biggies, the choice, coveted customers, and some of them like are married to Jackie and they got to have Jackie as
Of
their
course.
facilitator.
Of course.
Yep.
Smaller events are staff led, but we do a lot of DIYs too.
Oh yeah, tell me about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, we've really kind of over the years, what happens is people wait too long to book us. They think they can call us in October to book us for the holidays, but we're pretty much booked out by August for all this stuff that we do in the public school sector, is what I'm really speaking of.
Manifesting that for me.
Happy to hold that place till you get here and help you get
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so they put us on their master calendars for the schools, but they don't tell us, they don't call us, they forget. It's just a whole barrage of
sure.
weirdness.
Or worse, they just put us on their calendar and then a week before it, they're like, I'm just calling to confirm. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
We
that's
never
that's the
talk.
biggest freak out.
and we're like, okie dokie, here's how you're gonna get your event for sure, but it may not look like it did last year.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
we
so
don't want to say no to the business because sometimes these schools can crank out a $2,000 or $3,000 event for us.
Yeah. So
Right.
if in this situation, if the school is doing a more DIY path because they've waited too late or they thought that they'd confirmed, is it you just dropping off all the supplies and coming back and picking it back up?
Yeah. Or
Ten
they
bucks.
come fetch if we're literally too busy to
Yeah.
I mean, our valley's so big, we're like, it takes almost an hour to cross the city now. So
Wow.
sometimes we can't spare staff if they've got to be, we divide our city in quadrants. And so people, teams divide and conquer. Sometimes we're not available to go, but we try to be nice and, drop off and pick up. But they literally get the exact facilitation kit we use, the same signs, everything. They just don't get our cash drawer and our card reader.
Sure.
And they don't get our set list and our sound system.
Well, and most importantly, they don't get you to.
Well,
Right.
that's a big part of it. Yeah, it's a big major sacrifice that they have to deal with.
Exactly. And do y'all just do pottery for these large scale events?
We are only pottery. We don't do
Only pottery.
canvas. If somebody wanted us to, we could say yes because we feel comfortable enough to do that. But I've always been talking to Jackie about dabbling with group glass, large scale group glass projects, but we're really pottery driven. It's kind of our lane.
Here's the thing. We have tip sheets out on the table, but we don't actually teach them anything or walk them through anything like you would if you were going to do a quote unquote class, because we may have 200 or 300 or 400 people coming in a line, all arriving at different times or all leaving at different times. But they have plenty of instruction, and most of them in most of the schools that we do, they've been painting with us so long they have two trees in their house, one for all fired up and that their kids have done over the years, and one that mom wants to trick out somehow.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's for the majority of our events, that are the evening or after school or weekend gigs. Daytime, it's a different story when you go into a school and they're only giving you an hour with the kids in the lunchroom, and it has to be super regimented, and you are giving lead instruction almost like a Canvas class. But for the most part, we prefer open house style where people ebb and flow and come and go because we don't have to teach.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and this kind of leads us perfectly into the introduction of the episode. So well done, you two. Today we've got Gail and Jackie on. I actually don't know y'all's last name. What is your last name?
My name is Burrow, as in hole in the ground, not stubborn animal.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah.
You think I should know that by now. It's you two are just such it's just Gail and Jackie. You're like Cher. You don't have to have a last name.
Right.
Anyway, we've got you on to talk large scale events today. And even in this beginning of the episode, you've dropped a lot of useful nuggets. So I can't wait to see where we go. Ladies, will you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into pottery, and then also when you started these large scale events?
You want to start?
I had a corporate job with Time Warner. I was a director of operations for those guys. And so when we decided to do this, I had a business background, and Gail has a tremendous art background. So we're like, well, we're kind of set up to succeed. We should give it a try. Gail met someone at her job when we were living in California at the time. And she had opened a studio, and she didn't know squat about art or squat about business, anything. And she was very highly successful. And I'm like, wow, what if we move to a place where the economy is booming and we actually know what we're doing? Let's give that a try. So we're like, well, where would that be? And that's why we moved to Las Vegas to open the studio.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a fun Easter egg.
Wow.
Yeah, we both, I took a corporate job with MGM Grand Hotel Hospitality Group, just while we kind of got things off the ground for a bit. And when we felt comfortable enough to, leave our corporate jobs, we made the leap in 1998. But it was not heavily populated across the country yet in major metro cities. Maybe metro cities had 1 or 2 studios. So Las Vegas had only 1. And Las Vegas was big enough to support 2 stores for sure. So we planted ourselves in the suburbs and never looked back. I'm way too bossy to work for somebody else.
She sure is.
I'm way too independent.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
When we first started out, we did the unthinkable. That's something that I don't ever see anybody do. There was one studio in town, and we literally went over there and met with the owner of it and said, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. And you've been really successful at doing it here. So we thought we'd just chat. And she was not thrilled, but she was helpful.
And she was a CCSA member, and we made sure we didn't step on each other's toes logistically, lay the land. She had her turf, we had ours.
Nice.
But yeah, we're kind of outside the box thinkers anyway. We're in our own weird lane that we like to be in, and we really don't, I don't know. We like to ask for forgiveness rather than permission, put it that way.
Yeah. That, to me, that is the creative part that goes into this business. Sometimes it is easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
We had major life events happen pretty close in succession when we opened the studio. We were going to open with Jackie's sister as our business partner as well, and she died 1 month after we opened from breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
So that was a difficult start. And then 9/11 happened a few years in, and the Las Vegas economy went off a cliff because we are completely tourism driven. So with all the airspace shut, there was we're a right to work state. So all the hotels shut the top third half of the properties, and only were doing rooms below for, traffic that could drive to Las Vegas. So, our sales just went into the toilet basically.
Tiny bump in the road.
Oh,
Yeah.
my,
Just a
my
tiny
eternal
one.
optimist.
Just a little.
How long did it take to recover from that? Like from the 9/11 specifically?
You can ask her and then ask me.
I would say when I look at numbers, I would say 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy. Jackie's version is
We recovered in less than a year. We were back where we started and building on that. And when she says she looks at numbers, she did this. Right.
I'm the artist. I'm super right brained, so I don't read numbers the same way she does.
I'm the numbers nerd.
I get it. And I'm also a feelings person. So I had to ask Chat GPT today to do some fairly simple math for me. So that was like a real low point. But it's been a while since algebra. So when did y'all start doing these large scale events?
Within probably the first 5 years that we were open, and we never even thought about it, but a customer came in and said, "Hey, would you guys come to my school and do this?" And we're like, "Well, we've never done that before, but sure, we'll go do it." And we did it, and it's like, holy moly, this is a lot more fun than waiting for butts and seats. So I like to make this kind of money all the time. So from there, we just started building it.
Yeah, it was our studios. We've been in multiple locations because we've been open 27 years.
Wow.
And our largest stores sat about 65 people, which, you can fill, and that's a decent revenue producing, floor plan. But when we went to that school and packed out that lunchroom for a couple hours and had a couple hundred people roll through there, we're like, oh. So, but, we didn't go from there to going after this work all the time. We've still had, long-term 5-year lease with a lot of overhead. And so we completely dabbled in the offsite stuff, but it didn't take over our lives until it really started to gain some traction. I would say we've been 15 years solid of doing this type of work, but a lot of it didn't start until about a decade ago when we really started to ramp up this. It's taken over our world, and now we lease space based on doing offsite work, not walk-in trade.
Yeah.
But over the years, we did get a very strong customer base, and they still want to come into the studio. So we'll be open by appointment, or some of our customers have been doing business with us for so long and have hooked us up with so many offsite events. We're like, we're not going to be there. This is our day off. Here's the key.
Yeah.
Have fun. Make sure you put some money in the register before you leave.
Yeah. Our center doesn't have restricted or hours that are required. We're in flex space, so we don't have retail requirements. So our landlord doesn't care if we don't show up for a week at a time, or we have a roll-up door in the back. Love that. That's in the kiln room. Our front door looks like we look like a nice upscale, like office park type of setting.
Yeah.
But we get to do what we want when we want. Staff wants to work night shift. We don't care. They're fine to do that.
Or if they want some more hours and we haven't done very much for the week for everybody, they'll say, I want to open a studio this weekend. All right. We'll put it out there. Hey, we're there this weekend. Come by.
And how do you advertise that?
Our email database and social media.
Nice.
We put a Facebook reel out there, or an ad, or mostly we just do our email thing.
Yeah.
Our studio is very small now, so we only seat 20.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much to fill it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned the schools. What other types of businesses or places are you going to and holding these large scale events?
Churches, Parks and Rec,
businesses.
Business. We do a lot of corporate team building. Today's Wednesday, we're doing a very large regional construction firm quarterly managers meeting. And I think we've got 50 or 70 guests for that. Now, that's not necessarily large number of warm bodies, but the price point is way up there. So that makes us happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the Parks and Rec part of it. What does that mean exactly?
So Jackie and I, over our tenure, learned very quickly that we're just not cut from the right cloth to host camps in our studio. So we did it one summer and did the whole, week long themed, ran it all summer, drove traffic into the store with the kids and that sort of thing. But it was not my jam. I was not happy. I decided I much more enjoyed going to a Parks and Recreation location that is running a summer day camp, and there's 250 kids there each day. And they plant me in one spot and they roll me through groups of 50 kids every 45 minutes. And I crank out, 250 projects in one day.
And sometimes they have so many kids that the Parks and Rec facility cannot accommodate us. So there'll be an elementary school across the street, and they work with the elementary school, and so we use their
They use their
room.
building.
Yeah.
We're hot. We're like Phoenix. And so the summer camps here, there's not a lot going on outside.
Yeah.
So it's all interior space.
We have
And what kind of projects are you doing?
They're mostly low cost, high volume things like party animals, tiles, other clay projects that we come up with that are themed for whatever their curriculum might be. We're pretty flexible with that. Some of the camps let us come up with the project and they bless it and we run with it. Other times they're like, it's Shark Week. We want shark stuff or sea life or, whatever, that sort of thing.
We have just outside of Las Vegas, we have a 10,000-foot mountain, and Parks and Rec has a campsite up there that has little buildings and stuff. We also go up there and do, stuff with them. And they're doing week long. So there's 1 week, then the next week, and the next week. So we'll be in one age group 1 week, one age group the next week, another age group the next week.
Yeah,
This is kind of
official sleepaway camp.
That's very cool. This is a little bit of a silly question, but I ask because I gather that when you go to the schools, individuals pay you to paint, right? The school's facilitating it, and the parents and the kids come through and pay you. When you do the parks, sometimes, sure. So with the parks department, is this an agreement with the parks department, or is it a similar thing in this scenario where the kids' parents are paying you?
Both.
Okay.
Interesting. Both ways. I would say by far and large, like 90% of it, we are budgeted into their summer programming.
Cool.
For sure. And then some of the Parks and Rec sites, like the smaller ones that hire us out for a special event, like they hire food trucks. It's going to be Food Truck Friday or something like that. Well, we're the pottery ladies that show up on, we usually are in the early part of the week, Monday or Tuesday, so that we can fire and return within the same week, because those campers don't always come back week to week.
Right.
But those are a sign up at the front desk for the parents, and they pay on their kids' account. And then the Parks and Recreation Department pays us with a check.
Yeah. Do you mind talking numbers? Like, would you like $5 per kid when you do a Parks and Rec situation?
No,
15.
Bottom, never less than 15.
Yeah. I'm just pulling out numbers. Don't listen to me.
No, that's now, for instance, that's for a parent sign up and pay type of a price point. If we're doing a contracted repeat camp and it's the lower end project like tiles, we call them plaques. We don't call them tiles. Those are going to be like a $12 price point.
Nice.
Okay.
So, but we don't do anything under 10.
Some of each Parks and Rec site, there are many in Las Vegas and Henderson. Basically, they're all Clark County. Some of them will say we need to get a check in the works right now. We believe we're going to have 250 kids. How much money do you want for 250 kids? Right. And we give them that, and because for whatever reason, it takes them a long time to get their check and get it to us. And then the deal is, if you have only 100 kids when we get there, or 150, you still got to pay us for 250 because we had to buy that inventory. Now, if they want us to, and we usually tell them this, whatever you don't paint, we'll leave it with you, and we'll leave you enough paint to do it another day, but you got to do it on your own.
Yep.
And we leave acrylic paint and gloss sealer for that.
Love that.
They're on their own, and we love that.
Yeah.
We love when the attendance falls short.
Yes, I recall that feeling very well. When you do these more adult things, these team building events, what projects are they asking for?
It can vary because sometimes they like that whole structured, everybody's going to paint a mug and then pass it to the next person and those little fun themey things. We do a lot of teacher um, staff development days. So that again, mugs or an inspirational word that they want reinforced. But for instance, this construction company team building that I'm doing the next couple days, and we used to do Zappos all the time in downtown Las Vegas. They're kind of a freewheeling corporate structure, part of Amazon and all that. It was bring a variety of anything you want with a price point from this range, and everybody gets to pick. And it's just
Wow.
loosey goosey, whatever they want to do.
How did you manage that? Like logistically, did you just bring what you had and what you thought people might like, or what is that like?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, our vendors have got such a huge, great variety of things to appeal to all different personalities. So we always bring stuff that's on point and trendy, cactus stuff right now, or home functional pieces for home use, mugs, plates, bowls. But like, for instance, my Zappos corporate team building group, most often those crazy, wacky adults that all work there, they all painted kid stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
isn't that funny?
I wouldn't bring my little, party size animal kid stuff. I'm bringing like the big premium 6 and 8 inch, 9 inch tall Tyrannosaurus Rex banks and, rainbow banks and all the wacky stuff. Now, this Penta construction group, they want serving bowls and large mugs. They want picture frames, vases, dry erase message boards, 8 inch tiles. They're going to be getting a lot of coloring book stuff. We will bring stencils for them as well, because some of that plain canvas stuff, you can't just hang adults out to dry without a lot of hand holding unless you give them easy out stencils. That's my fave.
Agreed.
We did an event once upon a time with a financial institution that was doing a convention here in Vegas, and they wanted to do planters because the theme was grow the business. So we did planters
That's
with
cute.
them, and we did it one day, spent the whole night glazing and firing it, and got it back to them the next day with a plant to put in it, and then they
Wow.
FedExed it back to their people. So it's all over the place. We've done events with the casinos, and casinos are so much fun. Oh my God, so much
I
fun.
bet.
The employee appreciation parties
Oh,
or
they're
Christmas
they're
parties.
so much fun. They give us so much really, really good food, and they're giving away. They just give away money like crazy, and they'll come by and go, "Hey, you want a gift card here? Have a gift card." We'll walk out of there with several $100s worth of just gift cards that we in turn can give to in appreciation to our employees. So
Of course.
it's a fun gig.
Yeah, the corporate Christmas season's nice. There's a lot
bet.
of gifting of gift cards going out, and it's not like Zappos wasn't giving their own corporate gift cards out. They were giving neutral Visa, MasterCard gift cards out. So
Yeah.
that was a nice one. But
That
even
rules.
that crazy Charles Schwab grow the money thing, it was not a lead exercise. We just brought everything, put all the stencils out, and it was during cocktail hour.
Most of the
So
time
it's
when
a little
we do
swirly.
this, it's in cocktail hour,
Yeah.
so everybody's having fun. That's
Wow, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just start drinking a cocktail while I'm at work. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Let's make it
Um,
cocktail hour.
Yeah, there you
Exactly.
go.
So I think it's best to just start at the beginning here. If we're talking to studio owners that are really new to this large scale event and they don't even know how to reach out to people or start, what would you say is the first thing to do to start?
Let me say this. A lot of the classes that we've done with CCSA, we've concentrated a whole lot on facilitating it and the process, because that's what people have said they wanted. So we teach them how to do it, but we really haven't gotten really deep in the weeds with, okay, now I'm here. How do I get it? How do I get a customer? So our class this year is going to be very heavily focused. Instead of process, we're going to be more heavily focused on outcome. how do you talk to the customers? What do you say to the customers?
And is this once you've got them, or is this how to find them?
This is how to find them.
Yeah,
This is how to
Okay,
find
great.
them.
Yeah.
Because that is
Yeah.
basically step one. You've got to identify your market and who you want to go after.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a large metro area with a studio, or even in a smaller market, you've got to take a look at churches, schools, who are your business clientele in the area, parks and recreation for summer programs or school breaks. There's those major categories that you can delve into, but this is all 100% all the time outreach. These decision makers do not call you very often until they become a repeat customer. That's a different story. Right. But this is definitely like, you're not waiting for the inbound phone calls like a birthday party calls you all the time. No, you have to hunt and seek. And we use methodologies for reaching them, not cold calling. We do email, we do snail mail with flyers, we do I would say those are the two most primary ways to do that.
And what are you including in, well, because I think you can include something different in the email than you can maybe the snail mail, but what are the major points you're trying to get across when you are doing this outreach?
Community.
Building
community. That is numero uno always. When we talk to the end user, the decision makers, especially if you're going into schools and even in corporate events and church events, their whole mission is to build community and keep people coming back.
And they like to build connections. So from a corporate standpoint, yeah, it's from department to department, or, a team within that corporate structure. Schools, every principal is looking to build his school community and reinforce it to get those relationships between parent households and administration stronger. Parks and recreation, that's a little different. They're usually looking for arts entertainment, but churches, again, it's all about community, building your church, your congregational community.
Hey, podcast pros, give yourself a high five for tuning in and leveling up your business game. Seriously, we see you. Here at Biscuit Imports, we're all about helping studios like yours thrive. From our ever-growing lineup of awesome fish shapes to a huge library of resources, videos, and tools, we're here to make your job easier and keep those customers coming back for more. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned studio superstar, we've got your back. Let's keep the creativity flowing, the kilns burning, and the good vibes rolling. Check us out anytime at biscuitimports.com. We're here to help you grow, shine, and succeed.
Are you spending hours managing studio bookings and class registrations? Occasion helps ceramic studios save an average of 3 days a week in admin time. With clever workflows, instant confirmations, and seamless class management, you can focus on what matters, creating amazing experiences for your customers. Join successful studios like Clay Cafe Avalon, who've trusted Occasion since 2016. Visit occasion.app and schedule a demo today. Mention Glazed Over Podcast for personalized setup support.
And so you're catering these messages to the person you're talking to. I think that's something that we're not always, I think people forget that we have multiple target audiences within our industry, and you can't talk to everybody the same. So I think that's really
absolutely
smart.
You are dead on correct.
One of the things with closing the sale is understanding where the decision maker operates from. I think a lot of people go in and they're all talk. You got to start by doing nothing but listening, figuring out where they operate from. Are they a supporter? Are they an analyst and just want tons and tons of detail? Or are they a controller and they just want to say, this is what I want, and you tell me you're going to do it. And those are the things. We got to ask a lot of questions and literally get into relationship with them before you really tell them how great you are. Because if you are great, they'll know it. It'll ooze from you.
But regardless of how the outcome comes, it's generally, regardless of your outreach, it all begins with a phone call usually. There's not a decision maker that's going to take time to leave their office and drive over to your studio and come and chit chat with you. No, it's all by phone. And a lot of studio owners already have these built-in phone skills they don't even realize they have for landing this kind of business, because they're already doing it every time a birthday party parent calls to book a party. You are supplying them with this vision of greatness of how much fun your kid's going to have and how much they're going to enjoy themselves and their friends, and they're going to learn something, and all the things. Well, you use that same mentality, that same speak, but you spin it for the audience that's calling in. If I'm
Yeah,
talking
and
to a corporate team building HR person, I'm not going to talk to them the same way I'm talking to a Parks and Recreation summer programming director,
yep.
you know.
Right.
And
But
I think we're sort of, we're in an industry predominantly of women. I think we're used to sort of downplaying how good we are and how the product is worth it. And so I think tone is so important in these phone calls, even with the parents with the birthday parties, because you're like, oh yeah, we have so much fun and they learned this and we cleaned it all up for you. I mean, it's selling the package or the service, but it's selling it with a smile. It's selling it with confidence. And that's, I think, when you're closing these larger deals, it can feel hard to be confident.
but and that's true, because I can see that mentality. A lot of the people that have taken our workshops have kind of audibly told us that's their concern, but it literally is the same skill set. And once you get a few of these calls under your belt, it really just starts to spill out of you, just like an inbound phone call into your studio any other day.
Yep.
You learn the language and you speak the speak, and
Right.
it just becomes second nature.
I'm glad you mentioned mindset, because I think that is a huge part of it. A lot of studios that we talk to, the very first thing to come out of their mouth is, I know you guys do a lot of schools, but our schools just would not do that. Well, you know what? You happen to be right about that, because that is what you believe. What I believe is, if I didn't get a yes yet, I just haven't talked to the right person. And just because they'll say, well, we send out emails, or we send out snail mail, and we don't get anything back. Well, okay, that's called sales. That's going to happen. If you send it to the
Right.
principal, the next time you send it to the counselor, we do. Listen, we land librarians because they get nothing.
Right.
And
That's
think
really
about
That's a
smart.
good point. Oh,
That's
Most
really
people
smart.
don't even read books, sadly.
Yeah.
And
right.
They get the book fare. That's it. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of work for them. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
hmm
So much
so
work.
they love it. And if that doesn't work, then every grade has a grade level head. And
Sometimes they're
they're
called a team leader or a grade level chair.
And is this someone I could find on the school's website?
yes,
If now some schools don't list their faculty, a lot of them do.
vast majority.
Vast majority do. Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's multiple, like for instance, when Jackie was speaking of it's a lot like outside sales is, yes, you're going to send out a lot of outreach and you're going to get very small response back, because that's what direct mail marketing is like. You just already know going into it that if you send out stuff to 50 schools, you're going to get maybe 3 or 4 phone calls, and you may only land a couple of those. Or if you're in a smaller market, you're going to send it out to 15 schools, you might just get 1 or 2 calls. Expect that. You have to just continuously, every month or so, send something out. You just continuously mine. And for instance, at a school, I might do principal, and then the next month, office manager, and then the next month, art specialist, and then for kindergarten team, first grade team, you just keep moving things around, shuffling. It's like a shell game. You just shuffle it until somebody picks it up and calls.
And I'm assuming in this information that you're sending out, you're including photos, I'm guessing? You're
Oh yeah.
including,
Oh
yeah, because you got
super
to,
photography.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
we send out colored flyers to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's got to be
Nice.
something when because even if you get them to open it, you better have something that makes them go, let me look a little
What's
further
this?
in this.
Yeah.
And if you look like every other thing that's coming in their mail, we even use a different colored envelopes.
Oh, cute. And that's
Yeah.
such an easy switch.
It's
Oh,
an easy
it's
switch.
Nominal, I mean, a plain white envelope versus a colored envelope, nothing. But we coach studios that work with us, put the front of that flyer really splashy, lots of, succinct, bulleted, easy to read information that's really short with lots of pictures. And then on the back side of that physical flyer, put more of the detail, so that there's enough for those administrative mindsets that want that information. If you make it too cute and too flashy and just too much fluff,
Too busy.
they don't take you seriously.
Mhm.
Right. Very good point.
Yeah, it's got to be a
Right.
good balance. But
We have a friend out in Grand Junction who has a studio, and really and truly, Grand Junction is an itty bitty market. It's not very big at all. I mean, we're pretty lucky. We got almost 3 million people over there in Las Vegas, so we got a lot of people to shoot at. She has almost nothing, and she decided she was going to go after bars and restaurants. So she made a flyer and went into a bar and said, I need to speak with your manager. The manager comes up and she goes, I have a question. What is your slowest night of the week? Because I want to talk to you about how we can get some people in here. And so again, she's meeting them where they live, not where she lives. She doesn't, even the flyer that she hands them has the name of that place that she walked into, and the name of her studio is about this big, down at the very bottom, because it wasn't about her, it wasn't about her studio, it was about helping these guys increase their revenues.
Yeah.
She simply used Canva and made a template and then just switched out each of the bar, restaurants, or wineries and customized it. She took the, not a huge town to drive from one side to the other. So she chose to physically make an in-person visit, which Jackie and I will do that every now and then if we've got a really high value target, like there's a brand new school opening up and we really want to land them for an inaugural tile mural or something. I'll paint a sample and hand deliver it in a gift bag with, a flyer or something. But that's not our main, email and snail mail is our main focus.
And speaking of email, here's something that's really critical, especially if you're working with schools or with corporations or whatever. You want to target one person at a time, and you put that email to only that one person, because if you put a whole list of names up there, it's going to go to their junk mail. And a lot of people to me, that seems like such a no-brainer, easy stuff. But if you're not doing this all the time, it's not that easy.
And there's distribution list filters on email servers for large companies and school districts. You are going to get blocked if you do a mass email. Well, I shouldn't say that for every district, of course. Sure. The rules are different everywhere you go, but you've got to kind of know some of that stuff. So you can call your school district office and ask them. Or when it comes to the large corporate stuff, we just do individual emails. But I don't have enough contacts within a corporate structure to do a distribution list. But schools are kind of touchy with that.
It makes sense to me. If somebody sends me a group chat invitation to a party, I'm probably not going to go, because I'm like, oh, good. There's 30 people on this list. I don't have to go because 30 people are going to go. But if they send it to me directly, then I'm like, crap, I guess I have to go to this party. So it makes sense to me as a person that doesn't want to do anything.
And I should be clear, we're not using an email with an attachment ever. We are using email marketing program that has everything, one click. The visual immediately starts.
Your constant contact, for instance, like
MailChimp,
whoever your platform is,
yeah.
MailChimp. Yeah,
exactly.
That's very smart, because that's less likely to get flagged, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Plus, if when they click, the first thing they see is a really high-end flyer, they're going to take a look at it.
Very true.
Yeah.
And
I'd be worried to open an attachment from somebody I don't know.
Oh, for sure.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Every flyer, if we do snail mail, we never do a cover letter ever. No, that's to me, I hope I'm not stepping on some toes, but to me, that's old fashioned.
Who cares?
Has been ways of doing business. It's not how marketing is done these days.
You're not sending out a resume,
Yeah.
Right.
It's really, again, you have to make it about the decision maker. And I think that's kind of hard for some people to understand too, the difference between the decision maker and the end user. Because typically they're something completely different.
Yeah, your end user is still the customer. That would be the average person coming to your studio. But for that event that you're hosting in someone else's territory, your main primary customer is the decision maker that hired you.
Yeah.
And you answer to them, and all the planning is done with them, and you're providing a great experience for all those people in that audience that ultimately you have the ability to drive into your stores from getting exposure at that event. You could, when you return the pottery, put a bounce back coupon in every package, or a coupon or a promotion for all your upcoming classes or special events. Events are really taking over studio world, man. I mean, that's where it's at.
Crazy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very cool to watch.
Mhm.
That's a good point, because what they don't understand, you're already doing events. If you're not doing events, you're probably going to be closed pretty soon, because you sit around waiting for, but I don't care what market you in, you sit around waiting for butts and seats like Monday through
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, you're dying on the vine, because you can't live
Right.
on just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You got to have something else going on in there.
Well, and also, wouldn't you get bored? I would get so
Oh,
bored if I
mind-numbingly
just
bored.
had
God,
to sit in the
yes.
studio and wait for
Yes.
people to come to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why we're 27 years in, and we are still hitting the ground running every day, excited. It is so fun to do event work outside of your store, because the landscape changes all the time. The projects change, the audience changes. It's fresh, it's fun, it's continually evolving with new trends and new products and new styles of projects that we come up with. I mean,
Here's a really important point too, is once you've landed it, you must not, it should not, again, a no-brainer. You should do every bit of the marketing for your end user.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
if
talk
it's
to us a
something
little bit about
promoting
that.
like a school, or
Yeah.
a Parks and Recreation sign up or something of that sort, when the revenue depends on exposure to the event and people buying into it to come.
If you think about, if I don't mean to hammer in schools all the time,
Please.
but
Yeah,
there's
go
a
for
lot
it.
of money to be made there. If you think
Yeah.
about, you're dealing with the principal, or you're dealing with a counselor, you're dealing with a teacher, or you're dealing with a PTA or a PTO, all of those people in the scheme of things are pretty low on the totem pole, in terms of they don't make huge amounts of money, and they have to do huge amounts of work. All of them do way more than just having those kids in those seats during the day. So, and they don't have a lot of time, and they are buku grateful for us to do that stuff for them. We even print up, we don't just print up flyers, we print up posters for them to put up around school.
That's amazing. And
No,
how
we don't
much?
have a large format printer. We're doing
Sure.
11 by 17 enlargements of the
I think
basic
that's
flyer.
Yeah. But that's why we have partnerships with Office Max or Depot
Right.
or
Yeah,
whichever one
if
that
some
is.
people want to go that
Yeah.
route, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
the value, the time that you put in, and probably the cost to you is much lower than the impact I would imagine of being like, hey, I made this sign for you guys to put on the bulletin board. I'm sure the relief that your contact feels is huge.
Absolutely.
And schools are really digital these days. So there are, the old fashioned whiteboards in the classrooms, the expo mark. Okay, blackboards are gone, right?
Yeah.
But now there's, dry erase, markers and whiteboards. Even those are being replaced by smart boards.
Smart boards.
Well,
Yeah.
the smart boards also play video and show the morning announcements. And guess what? They show our video clips and
Yeah.
our flyers.
We make
That's
videos
very
for
cool.
them.
So
Wow.
we,
Yeah.
we use all those platforms, and we sell it to the person hiring us as a benefit that we're giving them. We're going to take care of all this for you, and then you run with it within your own structure within your school. We're not going to tell you to email this on Tuesday and Thursday. You decide how often you send out your emails for your families to read, and make sure that you're doing it multiple times before the actual event happens. But we don't have access to their, private servers. We just give them the files, and then they take care of all that. They change their monument sign out front, or their electronic reader board, that, the scrolling marquee thing, or hanging those posters up. We give them 6 or 8 of them. Sometimes they end up on the front of the school. Sometimes they're on the office doors when you walk in. Sometimes they're in the lobby. They're all over the place, but we just make sure they have them at their disposal, and then they use them where they see fit. But we kind of coach them a little bit.
All of our schools now have large screen TVs in their multi-purpose rooms. So I make like this last year, I made videos for them, and it's got this little snowman that comes out and he waves at them, and he either talks to them about what's coming up with the event, or something's printed up there, and they just play it over and over and over on a loop to get the kids engaged and excited.
Well,
It
and
is.
I know someone sitting listening to this being like, "Ugh, I don't have time to do that." But once you do it, it's done. You can just
Yeah.
tweak it like you're saying
Absolutely.
in Canva.
Hmm.
Exactly.
You can have a summer version of the snowman, or not summer, I
That's
guess not
right.
summer, but a spring, a
Sandman.
Yeah,
different
right. We
version,
do, and we do.
and it's
Yeah.
done. And that's so smart. It just takes a little bit of investment on our end, and then the rest of your year could be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Listen,
Hmm.
if they sign up with us, we make it for them. I'm just going to give it to you, kiddo. Just
Yeah.
let's go. I don't win unless you win if I'm helping somebody. So I
Right.
am extremely motivated to help.
Hmm.
Yeah. We want that. We know ultimately a successful partnership with whoever decides to hire you is going to mean more revenue coming to us if we get things off the ground the right way. If we feel like they're ghosting us and they're not checking in with us, or Jackie's emailing people a lot and or calling these folks, touching base until they become a groomed customer per se, there is some hand holding. But if you know how to pull this stuff off in the right way, they are thrilled with the outcome. We are constantly, when there's parent surveys at the school year end about what was your favorite event of the year, our ornament holiday parties, and they're not just ornaments anymore because we're doing plates and bowls and mugs and Christmas trees and snowmen and gingerbread men and all the things. They said that the holiday pottery painting party is hands down our favorite thing, and that's music to our ears because we know we'll get invited back. And that especially if it's a fundraiser, they're really vested in making sure it's successful.
And legacy tile walls, we have well over 100 legacy
Yeah, I
tile
think we have
walls
over
in
100 now.
elementary schools. And once you land that, that's every year. It's a guaranteed, because
Right.
even during COVID, we had principals calling us and saying, "I'll be damned if my kids are not going to get to do this just because of this." And we would literally camp out right outside the school with the principal, and there would be a time where there was a drive-by and people drove by and picked up their tiles and
Their take-home paints.
And then they brought it back, and we made sure they got it.
Every
you
exiting
mind-
fifth grader gets to put their claim to fame on that school.
Well, so that's my question. I would love for you to, if people aren't familiar with this concept, just to kind of quickly explain what the legacy tile wall is.
We do about 3 different versions of them. It is generally it's an annual addition to the school. The 6-inch square tiles, we don't ever do 4-inch tiles. We are always 6-inch squares, are super common, and they are super consistent year to year to year to year. So the murals can easily be added to. So we do exiting fifth graders. We do family legacy. So sometimes it's more of an evening event where the families come and they get to do their family heritage or their favorite. Again, the principals are building community. So he wants the whole fabric of his school community to reflect whatever they want. So some families might do, we are total Dallas Cowboy fans. We're going to have blue and gray stars all over our tile. Or someone's proud of their heritage, or this particular family likes to go camping, and so they're doing pine trees and a little campfire, and there's little s'mores and all the things. But and then we do fifth grade exiting class. Sometimes they do self portraits, which are kind of like contemporary line art, coloring book style self portraits. There's no realistic highlighting and shading and that sort of thing. It's very, very basic.
But they've gotten better over the years. Boy, have they ever gotten better.
Our teachers like to facilitate a few weeks ahead and show them how to take an oval shape and divide it and put the lines and try to get them there. But pop culture has really taken over. A lot of the kids now do their self portraits with emoji eyes, or their favorite. I'm starting to see square green heads for
Minecraft.
Minecraft.
And it's cool
That's
that that is a part of the curriculum, having the teachers invested, and it just makes it even more solidified that you'll be back the next year. That's very wise.
So the evening family style parties, those are more of the open house, come and go. They walk the buffet line of supplies and then go sit and relax for a couple hours and turn everything in. But the daytime fifth grader work, when we walk in, the room is set up when those kids walk in. The kids sit down, everyone's quiet, and then we teach step by step on stage. So it's a combination of both.
Well, I mean, so we could talk to you all day, and I
I
think
know there's
Yeah.
so much.
I
and I
know
think
there's so
that
much.
this could very easily be like a part two situation. But I think what would you? I'm gonna toss this over to y'all. What would you like to talk to us next about us? Is it like structure of the event? Is it logistics? Like how do you literally bring all the stuff and take it back with you to fire?
Staffing.
And like what is it that you'd like to kind of end us in this next 10 minutes or so with?
Maybe the organization of it all with the front
Mhm.
end and back end, because some studios may have a difficult time envisioning how they integrate this kind of work into their production stream when you've already got walk-in traffic. Jackie and I
Yeah.
really prefer not to have walk-in traffic in our store. We're pretty much a production facility for this type of thing. And oh, by the way, we let people in every now and then. But a lot of other studios have still got, stuff cranking out of it. But and there are some studios that are large and can seat a lot of people, and that justifies some decent revenue. But there's a lot of studios that are smaller that don't seat 30, 60, 70, or 100 people. Those studios that are in the 20s and 30s, this dipping in the pond outside your store can really help to bolster the bottom lines of those stores. You just have to be organized not only in the front end and how you market it, which we've already kind of covered, but then also at the back end. We don't reinvent the wheel every time we go out. We've got standing kits that are pre-packed and kind of ready. We replenish them when they come back in. So, the whole water bowl situation is always full. There's plenty of paper plates. The paint kit is, topped off. We're never going out with half empty bottles. The brushes are fresh and dry, or if we need stencils for that group, they're queued up and, corrected for whatever audience is going. Let's see. Oh, you have to be organized at the event site when stuff goes out, because you've got to be able to get that right piece of pottery back to the right person. So there's methods that we use that are really heavy into labeling. Jackie is usually at the end of the process when people are turning in their work. She's got the gift of gab. She's got that charming, disarming, friendly personality. And so she gets in relationship with people at the back end. And when they turn in their projects, she's making notes like, I need you to, personalize this date on this for it's a gift for someone or whatever have you. So there's a lot of personal contact that goes into it, but it's really a veiled thing for us so that we can stay organized and know whose pottery goes to who.
Yeah.
We used to do personalization or detailing for everybody all the time, and
Wow.
I mostly did that, and it got when we crossed over that 10,000 threshold
Of ornaments per holiday
that's
season.
the most.
Right.
10,000 is the most I can do in 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's when we
It's a lot.
that's when we literally approached BI and said, "Can you give us these things pre-detailed so we don't have to do this all the time?"
Right.
And that is
Yeah, so
really
that's what
helped
you
us.
mean. You were sitting down and doing those outlines for people?
Yes.
That's
Wow.
And personalizing them.
And personalizing them.
Mm-mm.
And our language at our signs said, turn in your ornaments here, ho, ho, ho. Please have in mind your personalization requests. Well, we took that language off.
Yes.
And there are some customers who've been doing it with us for a long time, and they'll ask us to do it, and we'll still do it, but only if they ask for it, and we don't advertise it at all.
Would
But
you have
I'll give-
ever
I'll
done
give you
it there at the event, or is it all back
No,
in the
No.
studio?
no. But well, here's a roundabout yes to that question. In order to streamline our process, but still give the customer what they want, we know that the mass majority of, and I'm just strictly speaking holiday ornament party here. We know that they all want the year on things. So when they go through the line earlier in the process, we are putting the year on the back of the ornaments with our utilitarian pencils that stay on in the firing, like an underglaze pencil per se. So that alleviates that whole request at the turn-in station because it's already handled. They don't really care if it's on the front or the back. They just want it on there somewhere. So that just saved us work back at the studio.
Here's another thing. If we're doing, let's say 18 to 21,000 of those things in a season, if you just stop and think how mind-boggling that is to somebody who's never ever done it, that I've got to get this ornament back to that kid at that school in that room. So we are really a well-oiled machine when that happens. We
go through a lot of Sharpies.
We don't.
Yeah, I bet.
We don't.
Yeah.
we don't lose them, and they all get back.
And
What
it's
would
really
you say?
Jackie's background in when she worked for Time Warner exposed her to a whole program called Total Quality Management, TQM techniques. It was part of also process flow management. And that helped us really devise this entire methodology of doing this type of work so that we're super efficient. We don't, like you said, reinvent the wheel every time. No, we can't crank this much work through. Our studio is only 900 square feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
nuts.
Wow.
I mean, we are hyper organized and super focused, but yes, there's techniques in place, and we teach that in our workshops, and the class attendees will learn some of those things too, about how to not have to touch and retouch and redo and, move this bin because it's in the way of that bin that from that school XYZ. A lot of people lose their minds when they know that we combine 6 or 8 or multiple schools in a kiln. We don't
Yeah.
separate by school ever, or by parks
So
and recreation site. It's all mixed.
Every piece, whether it's an ornament or a puppy, has got a code on it, and that code goes back with that school.
Sure.
And
Or
every
that
every piece has a bag, so we know we got to have a piece for every bag when they come out, and everything that's on that bag also matches what's on that ornament, because it'll have the school code, the kid's first name, last initial, and the room number in that school that it goes back to, and what it is.
And so our simple little brown paper sack, which for larger pieces becomes a very large paper sack, but
Sure.
same theory. If we are ready to pack out a location and make a delivery and we have too many bags, that's a red flag. We're missing pottery. Or if we have too much pottery, not enough bags, that's also a red flag. There's bags missing, something's not right. We can't make that delivery until everything is a perfect match.
Can I ask, like, just literally how you're getting larger? Like, let's say this, like a mug team build. How are you getting those back to the studio? And how many can fit in your car? What kind of car do you have? You have a bus?
Funny.
Okay.
That's funny. You'd be surprised.
I absolutely despise minivans from a style standpoint.
Of course.
But oh my gosh, our minivan is like the best thing on the planet. It holds the universe. It does.
And I have
you're
an
just-
SUV, and my SUV does great too.
And you're just putting them in there upright in these bags.
Upright in the bags, the ornaments, yes. Of course, mugs and stuff like that. It depends on.
We usually roll the bag down.
On the bigger stuff.
We're not taking the time to put them in bubble wrap and do all those crazy things at the event site. We do enough to protect them to come back. But when they go back to the site, the delivery becomes much bigger because bubble wrap's involved.
Sure.
And everything kind of grows, But we've got special plastic bags that we use to put around pottery before we put, like, 3-dimensional pottery, before we put it in a brown paper bag, because in travel, brown paper bags can paint off handles or edges or rims or all the things. So we've got methodologies to ensure against that.
Right.
Here's the other thing. That's how we get schools to book. Our first schools book the first day of November. And the way we get them to do that, those early ones, is we only do 3D things up until about 2.5 weeks into November, because by then we've got so many ornaments that we have 5 12/27s, and they're all packed with ornaments.
Wow.
So we do. So if you want this stuff, you have to do it.
Yeah,
because
you got to go early.
If you book later, you're not going to get this stuff. And it's like drugs. Once they start doing it, they cannot quit. I promise you.
Once they start seeing the cute little snowmen and the little cartoony cute stuff that our vendors make and all that super charming pottery, it's hard for them to just go back to ornaments only.
Yeah, I bet. And there's the illusion of, like, newness every year. If you keep, like, a cute one back from them, next year you can bring it and say, oh, this is brand new.
That's exactly what we do. That is exactly what we do. We're
Yeah.
constantly enticing them with at least a few new things every year. And even the same thing holds true with Mother's Day. You know, we know that there's a gazillion super cute things for Mother's Day, but we don't show them all the things every year.
Right.
You know,
Right.
plates and mugs are still by and far and large our most popular Mother's Day thing.
That really cute little Gail truck I have one customer that
Oh,
paints the
yeah.
hair truck every year. And I'm like,
Oh, the vintage tree truck.
where do you put
Hmm.
them?
Yeah.
Do they paint them the
Where do you
same
put 'em?
way, or are they all different? I wonder
I'm sorry,
if she
what,
just
Amy?
does she paint them all the same way, or are they all different?
Uh, I think she paints them all differently.
Yeah, I was gonna say like just a parking garage of red little trucks might be a little much.
And
Well,
but we, talking about the 3D stuff at these events, I am kind of a ball and chain with Jackie's business mindset. I'm always like, it's too much. They're too expensive. They're not going to buy it. It's no, we need lower, bigger volume, cheaper stuff.
Mm.
So the last couple of years, I have deferred to her and allowed her to say, okay, we are going for the big tree gnomes. We're going for the bigger pieces, and let's just try it. Oh my gosh. We put $35, $45 price points on that, and it was selling.
That's
We
amazing.
ran out of everything.
I'm kind of taken aback, but I am now a firm believer if you bring it, they will paint it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you're a firm believer that Jackie's always right.
I'm pretty much a firm
No,
believer
I'm
Jackie's
familiar with the Gail's always right.
I understand that.
we make sure we bring a whole scale of, inexpensive to high end, and a lot of people land in the middle. But I was shocked at how many people were going for, the we're not bringing the $100 light up trees,
Sure.
the big trees, the 6 or 8 inch tall ones and that sort of thing. But even we just did a springtime family paint night at a local elementary school last week. Kind of the marketing was cued a little bit towards Mother's Day, so we had a lot of things for moms on there. But yeah, we brought up to $35 price points, and that whole section sold out. I didn't have a gazillion things in it, maybe 7 selections, whereas the $25 price point had, a lot more. But if it's important to people and they see the value in it, and it has a sentimental tangent that they can touch upon, they will spend. So Jackie is totally not, she is unwavering in her optimism, even with the economy sideways.
If I don't buy into the economy, my customer won't buy into that crap,
Sure.
It's a difference between operating from a place of scarcity or operating from a place of abundance.
Yeah, it's at its lowest common denominator. That's really it.
Yeah.
I have a little bit harder time getting there. I admit that. But over time, well, here's a good example. During harder economic times, we don't not go out to eat at our favorite high-end restaurants. We just may not go once a week, right?
Yep.
Right.
So, we are considered, when we go out to these venues, a special event. And if people know that we're coming and they've had ample time to prepare and get reminded that we're coming, they make time for us and they budget for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one last question, then I'm going to throw it over to Jess because she mentioned before we started recording that she got an inquiry today. But are you bringing painted samples with you when you do these events to be like, this is what it looks like, or this is what it
Yes.
can look like for
Yes.
everything, or just a few?
We need to start bringing it for everything, because the things that you do samples for will sell better than the things that you don't, because most people,
They got to see
once they
it.
get past the second grade, people don't believe they're an artist anymore. Those young kids, they don't care, man. Give me some blue and some green and purple, and I'm going to paint this thing. The older they get, they're like, well, I don't know. But if they have a sample,
Yep.
Adult events are more difficult in my mindset than children. Children are fearless. They dive in with both feet. Adults need a lot of positive reinforcement. They need visual things to look at. So our adult events, like this thing I'm doing with this construction company in a couple days, I'm going to have a lot of stencils there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that one the hard way, that if you do not have some sponge daughters or some tape or some stencils, that you are going to be spending the entire time helping someone come up with the design. that they can hand paint right then and there. So I was just at a women's conference a few weeks before the BI Ceramic Jam, and exactly that happened. And I was like, wait, wait, wait. I have sponges. You can make polka dots. Let me show you how to do it. It's going to be good. What's your favorite football team? It's going to be in their colors.
Yeah.
We're in the
And
South. It works
I was
for
gonna
us
say
here.
that's on the South. Yep.
a lot of that is in that speak that you speak, you know. So this particular group that I'm going to is, let's say they've got 50 that they're going to RSVP for. I'm going to bring about 70 to 80 pieces of pottery because I don't want the last person making their selection to feel like they were slighted and there wasn't a lot to see. So that's kind of a visual thing that we're aware of. Also, I'm going to bring way more stencils than they're ever going to use. I'm not stingy with my array because I spread those all over the table and I know not everybody's going to use them, but I want the selection to look lush. I want that fear factor to just melt off those people when they walk in that room and go, oh, there's so much for me to pick from and figure out, look at, play with. It just kind of takes all those barriers down and then everybody has a much more relaxed time. Again, that's for adult stuff. Kid stuff, they're happy no matter what you do.
Yeah, I love kids stuff. I love kids stuff for exactly that reason. You're like, paint an alligator with an ice cream cone, and they're like, got it, can do.
Yeah.
There's no like,
Exactly.
and what is step one exactly?
Yeah, what flavor is the ice cream? You know, they have a
Yeah.
lot of questions.
Yeah.
Any questions about your upcoming group of 100, Jess? You want to ask the experts?
I mean, I do a lot of offsite events. So I do a lot of team buildings and day camps and all of those things. I struggle the most with getting it through my studio because my studio seats 80. We're in a tourist area. We're pretty busy. And I only have two 1227s in the back that are running every single day. So my biggest problem is always, this one was not on my calendar. They emailed me this morning and said, just like you guys, hey, y'all are on our calendar, but we forgot to book you. Are you available sometime the next 2 weeks to do a group of 100 for banks? And I'm like, yes, let's figure out how we can do that and get them back to you before the end of the school year. That will be my challenge. So any advice on integrating the two together?
For instance, if I was in that situation, I would release from the mindset that they all have to fire together, isolated from the other pottery in your normal flow of production.
Are you going to code them? Do you code them? So
Yes,
it
yeah.
goes, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Coding is where it's at. And then your staff, of course, has to be hyper detail oriented and trained to look for those codes and know what they mean and how to sort. Out of this 100, is this for school, you said?
Yes.
Do you have to sort by grade level and or classroom or any of those sorts of things?
No, luckily not this time. So
Well,
it's
how
just
do you send them back to them?
Normally I'm with you. I have a brown paper bag that has their name and their school on it and classroom if it's relevant. But a lot of ours are like the art club, so it just goes back to their point person and they distribute them kind of from there when they see
Is that
them.
what this event is? Is it an
Hmm.
organization within school? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think it's their like family night, so it's going to be really a very interesting time.
say that one more time for me.
It's going to
gonna
be
be
a
family
family
night.
night. Yeah.
Okay. So you're
So-
one of the activities that are.
Well,
you the
I
only-
think we're the only activity, but
Oh, are you
she's
the
gonna
only
have
activity?
the
Okay.
parents can
I
come
would-
in, yeah, and paint too.
I would encourage you, if you're going to continue to build this business and taking stuff back to schools, because you can put all of that stuff in alphabetical order and they could come pick it up and get it fairly
Mhm.
easily. But if you get to the point where when you get to that school, you tell them, I need a list of teachers by grade level with their room numbers. And you let that room number be it, whoever you send that back to makes it so easy for them on the backside. Because you've got all of room 1, all of room 2, all of room 20 together and
Right.
sequentially.
And we
Yeah.
have an ulterior motive with that. So it's an organizational standpoint. It makes it sometimes they don't know that they could benefit from that type of organization. Like you
Mhm.
say, our club might be a little bit different situation, but if you get a hold of that teacher's list with room numbers and you give them that, here's the box of all the 30s rooms, here's the box of all the 40s rooms, here's the box of all the 50s classrooms. Maybe you don't sort it down to every individual classroom, but just kind of break it into those chunks. You just got your hands on an internal list of teachers' names within that school.
Oh, yeah.
And
So-
everybody else.
So that gives
Yeah.
you an opportunity to take, maybe you don't want to market to 4th and 5th grade teachers, that they're not the sweet spot. Kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, that's where the action's at. Now you know teacher names within that school. Now,
Mhm.
they're not always going to stay there forever and ever and ever. So those kinds of contacts ebbs and flows. But now you've got a little something in your back pocket when you come up with a new project for the fall, like, oh, let's do handprint turkeys for the 1st grade at this school. I've got the teacher names. I'm going to send them a flyer.
Right. Yeah, that's good. It's great advice. See, you guys are a wealth of knowledge. You should write a book and then sell it to everybody who is in the
We were just
organization.
dropping
We'd all,
something
we'd
the other
all
day,
buy it.
I'm like, Jackie, we need to write a book. Amazon,
I'm
you can publish
surprised
on
you
Amazon.
haven't. Yeah. Then
Pair
you
it with
two
your
could,
class.
and you two could read the audiobook. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. How fun would that be?
We'll take a 3% consulting fee. So
Oh,
There you
Three.
go.
I don't know about 3. I need a little bit more than that.
Speaking for you too,
But
Amy.
to dovetail onto your event for the bank, so we would definitely do the paper sack thing with the Sharpies for communication. And then we would be also writing on the bottom of the bank with something that does not need to be rewritten. So we're not going to come back with a detail bottle and go over that later. We're going to
Right.
use our version of an underglaze pencil that
Like a
we
China
can
pencil?
code and mark with. We
Do you use
use
a China
the dark
pencil?
brown high temp China markers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
What do you like about those versus the underglaze pencil? Just curious. Price?
They're $1.
Yeah, okay.
Enough
Well,
said.
there it is. There you have it, folks.
Well, here's the thing. When we do our massive events at Christmas and those rooms are packed full, if we use underglaze pencils at the stations where the guests are writing their own information on, they think it's a regular pencil and they sprout legs and they run away all night long.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the underglazed pencils are $7 a piece, right? So if we use something that looks different on purpose, or some studios that we coach, they still like underglazed pencils because they're easy to sharpen. Okay?
And we
They'll
pay-
put a flag on them or like
Yeah.
a poofy
Yeah.
pom-pom or
Yeah,
something.
we put a little flag on it.
Right.
Flag. But now I've learned that I can sharpen China markers. And so
Love
we
that.
do that. We bring sharpeners with us. And so the peel off paper thing, you still have to do some of that, but you can fine tune the point on the China markers. So
It's a good
Well,
tip.
dang. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Do you want to plug anything? You want to plug your coaching or anything before we get out of here?
we don't have any coaching classes or workshop weekend retreats on deck right now, but we do have our pre-con class scheduled for the convention in Denton. So if you guys are interested and if the audience wants to jump on our train and take a 3-hour intensive boot camp with us, we're on deck.
Yeah, I mean, highly suggest it. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. We do some consulting and subscription work also. We're kind of probably don't want to put this in this video because we like to be a little bit picky, because sometimes you get somebody in a real small market where they really don't have, I don't care how good you are. If the market's not there, you're not going to do it. And they will keep us on the phone forever, you know? So we try to be sure to work with people who we see the opportunity.
It's a criteria.
For success. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the market's got to have the right pool to dip their toes into, to pull from.
Now you can do it in a small market. A church
gathering can have 150 people at it, even if it's a small community.
Yeah.
But you've got, for consistent, good revenue producing program. Jackie and I are all into like multiple revenue streams. And so studios should have walk-in trade. Studios should have off-site trade. They should have their own line of pottery. Miss Amy.
Yes.
All the things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. Thank you two for your time. And, absolutely everyone listening will highly benefit from the pre-con. So I just really suggest that you sign up for that. I don't think you can sign up yet, right?
No, not yet, but
sometime in May.
opening soon,
Okay.
June.
Yeah,
June.
this episode will be out by the time you can sign up. So
We are
Oh, yeah.
we are
good. Yeah,
blessed.
y'all were great. We really appreciate
Yeah, thanks for sitting down with us
time.
today.
And we feel the same
pleasure.
to to chat. Yeah.
We really
So
don't have
thank
enough
y'all.
time to talk about all of this stuff today. It's
No,
like
and
you
if
guys have
you
so much information.
I don't want to give away all the goodness of the pre-con, obviously, but let's say, after a convention, maybe next year, if you want to come back on and do a more like super niche part of this,
Okay.
especially if you're going to write a book or do another subscription service or get the events back up, think about coming on and doing another episode
Okay.
because,
Yeah.
there's so much here.
There is it. We almost can't approach the executive board anymore for teaching a regular class
Mm-hmm.
because there's just not 45 minutes for an hour. It's just, we just
It's not
can't.
enough time. Yep.
Even our pre-con is going to be 3 hours of rapid fire, like speak. There's going to be a lot of visuals for the PowerPoint, that helps. But we've done a 2-part pre-con before, morning and afternoon sessions.
Wow.
That was probably, it was 6 hours. It was the most exhausting thing.
Right.
I cannot imagine.
It was
No.
6 hours of constant talking and being on point, and oh my gosh, it was a lot. But
Yeah, wow.
there's
Well,
so much to this aspect. It's like trying to teach somebody how to do a whole new studio in like 3 hours.
right.
Just a
And
studio
it's
outside your
impossible.
store.
Yeah, but seriously, think of us whenever you're trying to launch something because, the industry is listening and it's nice to have this dedicated, hour long with them every other week to tell them what we're all up to.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Thanks for listening. Des Toll here from Biscuit Imports. We're proud to support the CCSA podcast and even prouder to support the amazing folks like you. Keep creating, keep growing, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Yeehaw, studio owners. Saddle up for success at the 2025 CCSA Annual Convention, happening September 5th through the 8th in Denton, Texas. This year, we're bringing cowboy country theme to the heart of the fine arts, and you won't want to miss it. Get ready for an action-packed event featuring over 35 industry classes designed to boost your business, an exhibit hall filled with the latest and greatest from top suppliers, plus social events where you can connect with fellow studio owners. And don't forget the grand finale, a boot scooting gala and silent auction that'll have you dancing the night away. So dust off your cowboy boots and join us for a weekend of learning, networking, and good old Texas-sized fun. This is an exclusive event you can't afford to miss. Head to ccsaonline.com to reserve your spot at the 2025 CCSA Annual Convention, and we'll see y'all in Denton.
All right,
Well,
girls,
thank y'all.
sounds good.
Keep
Enjoy
up the
the
good
rest
work,
of your
girls.
day.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Jessica Cowan. Editing by Scott Lester. Executive production by Vicki DeWorth. Learn more at ccsaonline.com.